Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopefully elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian, and Haitians. Gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the Akim pushing the truth and believing the truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopefully elect. Shalom to the Akwaf who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. Isaiah coming after another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification. Another daily edification, Lord willing to be edifying. And this is, for the violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. Lord's willing is be edifying.
From Studio 4 in the world headquarters of RT America in our nation's capital, this is the news with Rick Sanchez.
And good evening. Tonight there's news of another alliance that the U.S. is obviously not going to be happy about. But there are those who would argue that it's really blowback from U.S. foreign policy. So I'm going to take you through this. Here's the news in a nutshell on this new alliance. It's about China reaching out to Iran to set up a deal to get massive shipments of oil. China, Iran. Iran is developing new oil fields that are continuing to put them at the top or at the very near the top of the list of countries with the biggest oil reserves in the entire world. In fact, here are the top 6. I put the list out so you can see it. Venezuela's number 1, Saudi Arabia number 2, Canada's number 3, then comes Iran, then comes Iraq, and then comes Russia. Biggest oil reserves in the entire world. Did you notice who's nowhere on that list? In fact, they're not even in the top 10. I think you got to go down to somewhere around 14 to find them. China. However, look where they are on the top of the next list I'm going to show you. Now, this is a list of countries that import oil, right? The top importers, right? China, number 1. The U.S., number 2. This is people who bring it in, not produce it, right? India, number 3. Japan, then South Korea, and then, interestingly enough, the Netherlands, something I never knew but learned as I did this research. So China, because of the frictions and the trade wars with the Trump administration, is looking to import less from the U.S., actually canceling some of the deals they had, and more from Iran. Now, that's the story today. But you know who else China is importing from? Russia. Just last week, President Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin announced the opening of the Siberian pipeline to ship natural gas right from northeast Russia into Western China. Is there a sudden triad cooperation between Russia, China, and Iran? I mean, really, you ask yourself, what the hell's going on here, right? And is it being formed out of necessity as a backlash to U.S. hostilities with all 3 of these countries? Whether it's right or wrong, nobody's saying the hostilities in some cases aren't right. Or is it something that would have happened no matter what our government did? This is what we're going to tackle because really it's an important trend. I don't know if anybody else is noticing it out there, but this is important stuff and an important story here on the News with Rick Sanchez because it's time to do news again. All right, here we go. The list of the questions we think you're going to be asking tomorrow. Is U.S. foreign policy pushing China, Russia, and Iran into each other's arms? Talk about election meddling. How much did the UAE give to both the Clinton campaign and the Trump campaign? And is rape rampant in a Florida women's prison with guards abusing the inmates? Huge story there. We're going to be all over that. But we're going to begin with a question of whether our foreign policy is fostering an alliance between countries that we are constantly at odds with. Of course, by the way, you can make the argument that those countries, Russia, China, and Iran, have all been bad actors at one time or another for one thing or another or for things they have done or failed to do. But does that make them eternally bound to be branded as the bad guys? Or more to the point, enemies forever? Another way of asking this question may be this. Why does U.S. foreign policy seem to never change? Let's go there. Let's look. Let's kick things off tonight.
Because they framed Mr. by law. Psalm 94 and 20.
Morad Gaziev.
The best explanation I've come up with, crude as it is that the Pentagon chiefs have synced their cycles. Honestly, it defies reasonable explanation. The next most plausible explanation is that there's some sort of occult initiation ceremony. Every year or so, they come out, each successive defense secretary, and say exactly the same thing, like they're the first ever to say it.
We are working to reallocate our forces and equipment to priority theaters that enable us to better compete with China and Russia.
There seems to be an
devils.
event, a regular event at the Pentagon that affects their hormones, their brain activity, and makes them act bizarrely. The strangeness manifests itself in them shifting their attention to Russia and China, year after year after year, as if they had their attention on something else.
We face growing threats from revisionist powers as different as China and Russia are from each other.
The first to describe how we're approaching 5 strategic challenges: Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and terrorism.
Over the long term, we should expect Russia to test our alliance's purpose, stamina, and commitment.
The irony in all of this is that a recent poll found that half of American military families see Russia as an ally. Is television banned at US bases? Did they somehow miss the years-long tidal wave of anti-Russian propaganda on almost every major US network?
Russia definitely had involvement in the American election.
Russia was meddling in our election.
Russia harvested American rage to reshape U.S. politics.
How the Russians are trying to turn the tragedy to their advantage.
They targeted almost every major American social movement.
What the hell was the point? If the target audience, the troops that are supposed to protect America from that imminent Russian invasion NBC promises is coming any hour now, if they, American troops, don't buy it. But of course, the brass has an excuse. American troops refusing propaganda shoveled down their throats for years, and actually, get this, the victims of Russian machinations.
There is an effort on the part of Russia to flood the media with disinformation to sow doubt and confusion. This is not only through discordant and inflammatory dialogue, but through false narratives designed to elicit sympathetic views.
And here I thought Hillary Clinton calling half her countrymen deplorables was discordant, or Democrats calling Republicans traitors was inflammatory. I said this before and I'll say it again. Russia, even if it wanted to, could never have done 100th of the damage and division done to America by its own media and politicians.
Right.
Who refuse to compromise, who refuse to accept their own countrymen's opinions and views. But no matter what you say to these people, they will squirm, they will twist, they will spit, and always, always turn it into someone else's fault. Just not theirs.
Right, that's what they do.
More and more Republicans have changed their views on Russia because of President Trump's positive statements about Russia and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Then again, asking the Atlantic Council what it thinks of Russia is like asking the flu virus what it thinks about vaccines. I mean, they're literally paid to say this by arms companies whose sales depend on everyone being afraid of Russia. It's a tough spot. What is a defense secretary to do? Just rhetorical. What they're going to do is shift their attention to Russia. Perhaps this time it'll turn out different.
Now, that was a think piece by Morad, and it may be a little overstated in some places. We understand. But his general point is, Jim Chatras, former U.S. diplomat, that the U.S., our foreign policy, our government continues to push the anti-Iran narrative, the anti-China narrative, the anti-Russia narrative in such a hostile manner. My question to you then is, as a result of that, are we kind of forcing these countries into each other's arms?
Absolutely. Look, I mean, elementary cynical geopolitics 101 should tell you, like, Nixon going to China in the 1970s, it's better to try to be friends with both. At the same time, he had détente with the Soviet Union to try to play them off of each other and be friendly with both. That would be smart.
Right.
Instead, if we had sat down with a plan of how we could get these two big giant countries to combine as essentially allies against us, we couldn't have done a better job than we've done.
It seems to me, you're the diplomat, not me. I'm just a layman looking at things out here. But I look at our foreign policy and I see only two types of countries. Countries we hate and are almost willing to go to war with, have been at war with, or are planning to go to war with, or countries we literally adore because they kind of kiss our butts.
Vassals and enemies, that's all we've got. We have no diplomacy anymore, and that's where we get to our old friend regime change. With so many of these countries, if a country doesn't want to be a vassal, it's an enemy then that must be destroyed, must be flipped into the vassal camp by force, as Iraq was, for example, or or Libya, or we would like to do with Venezuela.
Speaking of Iraq and speaking of Venezuela, I want to show you a list, and I want our viewers to see this. Look at this list that I came across today as I was doing research on this piece. These are the top 10 largest countries or countries with largest oil reserves in the entire world. Jim, look at that list and go through it for our audience.
Venezuela, enemy, we want to turn to a vassal. Saudi Arabia, vassal. Canada, vassal. Iran, enemy. Iraq was an enemy, flipped it to vassal status. Russia was a vassal in the 1990s. Now it's an enemy. We want to put it back in the vassal status. Kuwait, vassal. UAE, vassal. United States, that's us. Libya, destroyer.
All the countries with the biggest oil reserves in the world are the ones that we either want to go to war with, have gone to war with, or are best friends because they are vassals, as you said? Define vassal.
Vassal is a country that is not fully sovereign. That basically, not only its foreign policy, but in many respects, even its internal policies, cannot make significant decisions without a mother may I from the bureaucracy here in Washington.
Mother may I. Haven't heard that term since I was a kid. Maybe here's the question then. How do we make this better? I'm American. I want the world to love us. I want to be the good guy. I don't want people to either adore us because they have to, or be hating me all the time simply because because I'm an American. How do we change this?
I don't think we do change it, Rick. I think it's a systemic problem. I think that Trump kicked against it by saying we should put our own interests first instead of this global empire.
But he's just like the other guys.
As it turns out, functionally he is. Whether he wants to be like the other guys or not, he's ended up like the other guys. I don't think it does get fixed.
But if you could, if you tomorrow could be the guy who came in and changed the United States, what's the first thing, or what's the things that you would do? What would be your priorities?
Get out of NATO. I would end our defense pact with South Korea and get our troops out of Korea. I would open diplomatic relations with the Iranians. I would pursue a policy toward the rest of the world like the Russians do, where they can talk to everybody. They can talk to the Israelis, they can talk to the Iranians, they can talk to everybody in the middle.
Call them as you see them.
And identify where is our interest. For example, why are we involved in Ukraine? Why are we involved in Syria? We have no interest there.
Venezuela.
Yeah, Venezuela. We have no interest in these places.
Do you want me to tell you why?
Well, because we want to get our mitts on their energy, but we have plenty of our own. And remember, we're a net exporter now.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this? It's not because we need it. It doesn't serve our national interest. It's because this huge bureaucracy has decided we're the city on the hill, we're the champion of human rights and democracy and all that. We must control the entire globe.
Right.
It's ideological, Rick.
Probably 20 seconds left, but what about China?
I think China is a country that is not going to. The reason they're building up their energy cooperation with Iran, they understand, and the Russians understand. If the Iranians get taken off the board, they're next,
and they're doing it. They're doing it. I mean, that's why this alliance is taking place. This is a fascinatingly smart conversation, and I'm glad I had it with you. Thanks, Jim Jeffries.
You see, that's what it is, man. The bully, Esau, has been a bully on the schoolyard, man. Okay? And these countries are pissed off with these devils, man. They sick of these devils, man. Okay? These devils is taking over. They in over 850 countries, man. Okay? With their military. This is Habakkuk 2 and 5. It said, yeah. Also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. This is Micah 2:2. And it reads, woe to them, Micah 2:1, woe to them that devise iniquity and were evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Why? Because Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. Verse 2, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses, and take them away, so they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Now, these nations is separating from Babylon the Great. Why? Because they are being discovered by these other nations. They are seeing their nakedness, man. The nations are seeing the nakedness of Babylon, and they are separating themselves, man. Daniel 2:41. Matter of fact, let me read 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all things, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, which is the fourth kingdom is Roman Empire. North America is the revived Roman Empire. The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Okay? Now, what was Tubal-Cain, man? He was an artificer of all different irons. Matter of fact, let's read that real quick. Because the Idumeans came back. Esau came back as Cain, man. Jacob came back as Abel. Okay? In the reincarnation. And there's nothing new under the sun, man. This is Genesis 4. In verse 22. Right? It say, and Zillah shall also bear Tubal-Cain, an instructor. And Zillah she bare Cain, Salaki, and Zillah she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. So this is the blessing of Esau Edom, man. Okay? So it said, and as thou saw the toes and the feet were part iron and part of clay. So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So that's why these nations are separating, man. Okay? That's what's going on right now, man. These nations are separating from Babylon the Great. Why? Because they shame, man. They see the shame of this place, man. And now they know that they have been drinking the wine of Babylon the Great for so long, man. They were so drunk. But Yahweh Shem Yahushua put a spirit on these nations, and they are what? Coming on, they are they are sobering up, man. Okay? That's the term. They are sobering up from the Babylon juice, man. Okay? What does the scripture say? Let's go back to Habakkuk real quick. Habakkuk 2:15. It reads this. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunk, and maketh him drunken. Also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. So see, what's going on is the other nations are sobering up, and now their nakedness is being covered, and now they're seeing the nakedness of Babylon the Great, man. That's what's going on. Read again. Habakkuk 2:15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken. Also, that thou mayst look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also. Yahweh Shema shall say, you Idumeans gonna drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shame for spewing shall be on thy glory. So now, Jeremiah 49:12, the Lord have made Esau bare, man, and have uncovered his secret places. So now, these nations are seeing the nakedness, okay, of Babylon the Great. Now, when you go to Jeremiah chapter 50, it reads this. Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. So, what did the Lord say in Revelation 18? Let's read it. This is Revelation 18. Because see, now, since the nations are drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, the Lord said this, Revelation 18 and verse 6. Reward her, who? Babylon the Great, even as she had rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. And the cup which she have filled to her double. And that's also going into the elect of Israel, man. Okay? The Lord gonna get a double portion of Babylon the Great. Okay, you Idumeans, for what you done to the Israelites. Okay? This is Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 10. And it reads, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. And the reason these things is going on, the reason these nations is separating, okay, from Babylon the Great, is because of the violence that you did to your brother Jacob, man. That's the whole point. That's what's going on. So Obadiah 1 and 10, for the violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was as one of them. Okay, so when the Babylonians took us down, you was there. Okay, and then you turned around and took us down from 65 to 70 AD, man. For 70 AD, you Edomites, man. Okay, you Romans. So you watched the Babylonians take us down. You was there, man. And then you turned around and did it yourself. Okay? Verse 12, Obadiah 1 and 12. But thou shouldest have not looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. And you did that. And you're still doing it today, man. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gates of my people, well, in Jerusalem, in the day of their calamity. Yeah, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. For the day of the Lord, Yahweh, is near upon all the heathen, all of them, all 17 heathen nations. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. It said continually. Yeah, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they have not been. So all these things is going on right now in the world because of what you did to Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. That's it, man. Okay? You put your hand on the apple of the Lord, man. Okay? You put your hand on the apple of the Lord's eye, man. And that's why these nations is going to burn you with fire, man. Okay? They're going to make you desolate and naked, man. They're making you naked now. But then they're going to shoot the missiles and make you desolate, man. Okay? This is Zechariah chapter 14 and 12. See, all this is happening is because you devils put your hand on the holy peoples of the Lord, man. Zechariah 14:12, and it reads, and this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. All you 17 heathen nations, you fought against the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day, what day? The day of Yahweh Bashim Havashai vengeance, that a great tumult from the Lord, what? Him and all his angels, shall be among them, and they shall lay hold everyone on the hand of his neighbor, and on the hand of, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. You came against so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, man, the 12 tribes of Israel. The Lord is going to destroy you, man. Listen to this. Let's read Jeremiah 14:1. Behold, the day of the Lord Yahweh cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be shaken, and the houses rift, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Listen, man. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. You devils is going down, and the reason your destruction, your calamity is coming, because what you have done, man. Okay? You proud devils, man. This is Zephaniah chapter 3:8. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, all 17, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, righteous anger, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy, man. And this is going to happen to you devils for what you did. And that's why the Lord got these nations separate themselves from you, man. Obadiah 1:7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him. Why? Because the pride of thy heart have deceived you, man. There's no understanding in you devils. Okay? You don't understand what's going on, man. But your blessing was to live by the sword, man. And you heard what he just said, man. These devils is taken, man. Why? Because you feel like your dominance, man. Because your pride have deceived you. And you trying to keep rulership, man. You trying to hold on to the dominion of the earth, man. But guess what? The Lord is setting up a transition, man. Okay? It's a transition going on, man. This is Ezekiel 35:5. Let's get to the point. And it reads, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, which I read to you in Obadiah, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, said the Lord Yahweh power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir, the Idumeans, you Edomites, most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. That's all your whole lineage shall be destroyed. And I will fill in his mountain with his slain men in thy hills. That letting you know ain't talking about no damn mountain. It say, and I will fill in his slain mountain, and I will fill in his mountain with his slain men in thy hills and in thy valleys, all your governments, all your kingdoms, all your rulerships, and in all thy rivers shall thy fall that are slain with the sword, and I will make thee perpetual desolation, and thy cities shall not return and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua. Because thou hast said, these two nations, what two nations? The northern and the southern kingdom. These two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord was there. Hey, you got the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom in your hands at yet this day, man. Exodus 21:16, man. Okay? And you're going to pay for it. And that's why your kingdom is crumbling. And you don't understand why. Because it's the spirit of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, man. Okay? Your end is nigh, man. It's Amos 1:11. And it reads, precept Ezekiel 35:5. Thus said the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, 1, and did cast off all pity, 2, and his anger did tear perpetually, 3, and he kept his wrath forever. But I will send a fire upon Teman, which shall devour the palaces of Basra. Okay, Babylon the Great, and all your other lands where you control, where you have rulership, dominance, dominion, it's going to be a perpetual desolation, destroyed, man. Okay, why? Because you touched the apple of the Lord's eye, man. You put your hand on so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. And now you got to pay for it. Thus saith the Lord, man. This is Psalms 50 and verse 20. And it reads, thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, who? Jacob. Thy slanderest thy own mother's son. These things hast thou done, and I kept silent. That's what the Lord just said in Ezekiel 35, right? You said these two nations and these two countries, we will possess it as if the Lord was there. Okay? These things hast thou done, and I kept silent. So you thought the Lord was with you because the Lord kept silent, man. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself, but I will reprove thee. And he's doing it now. And set them in order before thine eyes. Set who in order? The elect of Hebrew Israelites, man. The elect of so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans, man. That's why you see camps all over the world, man. Bringing out the truth about you devils and your heathen allies, man. That's separated from you, man. Okay? Because you got 3 classifications of men on this planet Earth. The sons of God, the sons of the wicked, and the sons of men. And the sons of the wicked and the sons of men have joined themselves. They will mingle together, but they will not cleave. As iron do not cleave with clay, man. Okay? And you devil's end is 9, man. I'm going to close with this. This is Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 13. And it reads, the remnant of Israel shall not be iniquity. It said the remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity. Right? The elect. Nor speak lies. Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. Right? No guile. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. Hey, the punishment of thy iniquity is accomplished, O daughters of Zion. Verse 15. Verse 14, sing, O daughter of Zion, shout, O Israel, be glad and rejoice with all thine heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. The Lord Yahweh have taken away thy judgments. He have cast out thy enemy, the King of Israel. Even the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil anymore. Okay? It's time for you Edomites and you 16 heathen nations to go to war against each other. Okay? Verse 16. In that day, what day? The day of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh's vengeance, man. In that day shall be said to Jerusalem, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, fear thy not, and to Zion, let not thy hand be slack. The Lord Yahweh thy power in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. What does the Lord say? With the apple of his eye, man. Okay? He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly. Who are sorrowful? The elect, man. The ones that sigh and cry for all the abomination that be done in the midst of this wicked kingdom, man. Who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Verse 19, behold, at that time will I undo all that afflict thee. All 17 heathen nations afflicted us, man. Okay? Over 500 years of affliction, man. Thousands of years of affliction, man. When you count all the captivities that Negro, Latino, Native Americans done been under, man. We have been afflicted for thousands of years, man. Zephaniah 3:19. Behold, at that time will I undo all that afflict thee. That's why I tell you that in Isaiah 51, 20 and 21 and 22, man. And I will save her that halted, and gather her that was driven out. Who was driven out? You lost sheep. You Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. And I will get them praise. And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame, man. At that time will I bring you again. See? Again. There's no spiritual Israelites. You got to be from the seed, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And at that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth. And I will turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah. Listen, man. Let's read this real quick, and I'm going to close. 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 13. It reads, being defamed, we entreat. We are made as the filth of the world, and are the offscourings of all things unto this day. We are being defamed and made a filth of the world. Who? You so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. But the Lord say what? In that day, listen to this. Zephaniah 3:20, 3:19. Behold, at that time will I undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halted, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get thee praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. So we ain't going to be defamed and made a filth of the world in this time. We're going to get praise and fame in the land, as Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah said. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you, for I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth, all you 17 heathen nations. When I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah. Hey, and that's going to be beautiful, man. Okay? And you devil finna pay, man, what you have done, man. Okay? That's why your nations is separating from you. Why? All this is because you put your hands on Negro, Latino, Native Americans, man. The apple of the Lord's eye, man. So now, your kingdom is collapsing, man. Babylon the Great is done, man. Hey, so with that, gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who are well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the occupants pushing the truth and believing the truth throughout the full man of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom till I walk for our listening and learning. Hey, Lord willing, till next time, shalom.